Welcome to Equity's first ever Q&A with the Experts webinar. I'm Ashley Studer and I'm going to be moderating this webinar today. I am joined here with two of our property management experts, Ken Holcomb and Patrick Wardle. Patrick is down south in Florida, but he has tons of winterizing properties experience. He came from Michigan, and Ken is stationed in our home office in Columbus, Ohio. So I'm going to go ahead and turn my camera off. And without further ado, gentlemen, go ahead and introduce yourselves.
I'm Patrick Wardle. I work for Equity and I have 23 years of commercial property management experience.
Hi, I'm Ken Holcomb. I'm a property manager with Equity based here in Central Ohio in Hilliard. I've been doing commercial property management for 15 plus years and looking forward to the winter season, I guess.
Thanks so much for those introductions, Ken and Patrick. All right, let's go ahead and get started with the first question. Patrick, I think we should go ahead and start with you. So what are some recommended maintenance tasks I should get completed before winter?
That's a great question. What are some things that you can do to prepare your buildings for winter? What we like to do is, get on the roofs, check the roof drains, check the gutters, put out the snow fences, check heat tape. But the biggest thing is to look at the gas meters, occupied and unoccupied units, make sure they're not locked out, change some batteries in the thermostats, make sure the furnace kicks on and it is blowing warm air. Also to put up the snow fences and salt barrels.
Thanks for starting us off, Patrick. I know that you briefly mentioned salt, which is perfect because we actually had a question submitted asking about what kind of salt to use around commercial properties. I know salting is super important for commercial properties to prevent not only employees from slipping and falling, but obviously customers as well. I've definitely slipped and fallen on ice before, which is not fun for both me and not good for my self-esteem, obviously. So, Ken, would you like to take a stab at this question?
Outside of the parking areas, we tend to believe that the calcium chloride is the best product for that. It's a little bit less damaging to the concrete product and can perform in lower temperatures than rock salt. Like anything else, it kind of depends on what Mother Nature presents to you and the skill and experience of the people applying the product. But we believe that calcium chloride is probably the best thing for sidewalks.
All right, so now that we have gone over just some general recommended maintenance tasks as well as touched on what kind of salt to use, I'm just curious, what are some common maintenance requests that you all get during the winter time? Like what kind of work orders do you get?
Common maintenance request in the winter. Typically it's like it's too cold in the office, right? Or the mats at the front door are soaked, and when you're going to replace those. I mean, there's things that happen in the winter season that you have to have a plan for before they present. You have to have a little bit more regular maintenance at the front door to keep things dry. You need to make sure that the PMs on the heating equipment have been done sufficiently, before the negative temperatures set in. Other things that are very typical in the winter season is the phone calls of, when are they going to come plow? The biggest thing, from my experience, is to have trust in your contractor that's performing that service. Because a lot of times your clients might not realize, A, the lot's already been pre-treated, or the storm is such that it's not prudent to plow at this certain time because there's 3 more inches going to be there in the next 45 minutes. I think communication is really the biggest key in having tenants understand what's going on outside and what you're doing about it. So you need contractors that communicate with you, and you have to have some kind of line of communication back to the people you're providing the service for. Those, in my experience, that's where the headaches are going to come from, is people just don't understand what's going on.
Hey Ken, hearing you talk about snow plowing, I just thought of another question. I was wondering if Equity had any specific guidelines on when plows go on site to clear lots. For example, if there's 3 inches of snow on the ground, do they go out and plow, or are there guidelines agreed upon with tenants or subcontractors? How necessarily does that work?
That's really dependent on the tenant. I mean, you're going to have different trigger points depending on if you're servicing a medical office, a commercial office, or just you know, what am I thinking about? Just
Retail that opens later.
retail versus business offices versus they're all going to have different priorities.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense that every tenant's different. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next question. This question is really timely because it does have to do with COVID-19, the pandemic that we've been dealing with, unfortunately, since early 2020. The pandemic has really impacted many market sectors, including offices, since many businesses are allowing their employees to work remotely. So our next question is as followed. I own an office space that is currently empty due to COVID. All of the employees are working remotely. What do I need to do to take care of my vacant building during winter?
When the pandemic hit, it was in March, and then it went into summer. So we're going to check the thermostats to make sure that they're on heat. 2, we're going to replace the batteries, make sure the fans are on auto. So we're also, when we're at the property, we're going to get on the roofs, check to make sure the roof drains are clear and free of debris. We're going to check any insulation, make sure that's in place if it's a pitched roof. We truly want to reach out to our tenants, let them know we're looking after their space, even though they are not in the space, and be proactive about getting our spaces and buildings ready for winter.
So we're starting to run out of time. So do you guys have any other recommendations or any other things that you would recommend to tenants or landlords to do to winterize their properties?
I truly believe, throughout the winter, you have to get your eyes and more than one set of eyes on the property, in the tenant space, in the vacants, and do that consistently. Truly, when there's a cold spell that comes through, we increase the temperature on the thermostats. Sometimes we drip the faucet to make sure water is moving through the pipe so it doesn't freeze, and get as many people on the property on a regular basis to protect the asset.
Yeah, maybe speaking of that, I mean, what happens in December, obviously you have holidays and extended periods of people not there. Plus it's darker longer. So, I mean, kind of piggybacking on all of that, making sure when the space is going to be, if it's unoccupied or going to be unoccupied for, longer than just a weekend, that you're taking some extra precautions, I guess. Isn't that what you're kind of speaking to, Patrick?
It is, truly. The other thing we try to do is get our buildings ready for the holiday seasons. Ken, you bring up a great point. We get our Christmas wreaths up, get them lit, try to put out the holiday feel while protecting the asset.
Thank you so much, Ken and Patrick. Before we sign off, I'd like to give you guys a few minutes to explain why tenants and landlords should choose Equity for their property management needs. I know there are a ton of businesses out there who have commercial property management services, so why should they choose Equity?
We have property managers and CPMs that if you need your property ready for hurricane season or snow season or, summer going into summer, the time to plant flowers, the time to put out salt barrels, or the time to batten down, the windows if a hurricane's coming. Equity has several things that I love, and one is to honor God, but the biggest thing is the variety of people and the level of experience in every department across the country. Equity is one of the top leaders with our developments, property management, and construction.
Patrick mentioned the experience with equity in all sorts of different climates, regions of the country. I think that's extremely important. He's sitting down in Florida right now with all that Michigan experience. I'm sitting up here in Columbus with a lot of Midwestern experience, and also, but I've managed properties in Southern United States. So, I think equity brings to the table a breadth of experience, and that's really the key with property management, in my estimation. I mean, it's not extremely technical per se, but it's recognizing situations and knowing how to bring resources to bear to kind of smooth things out and make sure that the asset is well taken care of. So it's extremely, for me, rewarding being here at Equity and given the opportunity to take care of these assets and bring my experience to the table and say, this is what we really need to do to make sure that the values are upheld.
I'm glad you said that, Ken, because Ken, when you say communication, and truly property management is all about communication, and getting your properties ready for winter is about communication with your maintenance staff, your day porters, and your contractors. You truly want to be proactive before the first snowflake hits. If it is putting up snow fences, putting out salt barrels, checking gutters, checking roof drains, and checking the vacants. Do the things that you need to do before the first snow flies, and be proactive with that, especially the maintenance staff, the property managers. Get on the properties, check the vacants, check the occupied units. Just wanted to throw that in there because when you brought up communication, Ken, is the only reason I've survived in property management is communication of what the issue is and try to resolve it. A key part of, heating of the building and air conditioning and heating is good preventative maintenance on the HVAC equipment. So you can prevent more failures during the winter, but also putting eyes on it on a regular basis to make sure it's working. When the maintenance staff goes into the vacant units or occupied units that are vacant, you turn the thermostat on, make sure that furnace is blowing out warm air.
As we've spoken about taking care of properties for the coming winter season, really that happens by having a solid game plan before the season even gets there. A property manager that's worth his salt has relationships built with the supporting contractors that are actually performing the service. And so on properties, if you have HVAC people, if you have parking lot sweeping people, if you have the snow removal people that could be some of the same contractors, as long as they know your expectations and you're confident in their ability to perform, you're going to be able to call these services out in 3:00 in the morning when it's really getting nasty outside, or you have the peace of mind knowing that they're already looking out for you and going to communicate to you so you can talk to the tenants about what's going on. I think property management is really just a coach that's making sure all these resources that are available are lined up and ready to perform. So that's one of the biggest things you can do. The winter season just highlights that teamwork. If that's all set up and ready to go, you're going to get through the winter season a lot easier than if you have to scramble and find something.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys so much for providing so much amazing insight in preparing properties for winter. I definitely learned a lot, and I'm sure that everyone tuning in did as well. Unfortunately, we have run out of time for our first ever Q&A with the experts webinar. I'd like to thank everyone who submitted questions prior to us recording this. If we did not happen to answer your question during this webinar, we'll be emailing you answers within the next couple of business days, so look out for that. And of course, if you're watching or listening to this and have some questions you would like the property management experts on our team, such as Ken and Patrick, to answer, you can email them to marketing@equity.net. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.